afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular session meeting, board meeting for the Board of Commissioners, November 6, 2023. And I will call for the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Miles.
If I could join me, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Got a couple of changes here before we approve the agenda. We will need to amend and pull the insurance renewal due for final numbers from Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And we will also need to add under new business a motion for manager's review evaluation salary increase. Are there any other amendments to the agenda?
So will that be C then, Mayor? Since we're pulling C and we're adding something that'll still be C?
The other one's under new business.
It'll be item B. It'll be new business. We have
Number 5.
administration, and then it'll be item B under new business. Or under C, I'm sorry. You're
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we accept the agenda as amended.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Harrison. Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we will have school recognition. Will Mr. Antonio Vasquez come to the front, please? Zebulon Middle School student Daniel Antonio Vasquez. Daniel is a student from Zebulon Gifted and Talented Magnet Middle School. He's 12 years old, and he's been living in Knightdale most of his life. 3 of his hobbies are taking lots of trips, spending time with his aunt, and building Legos. Reasons why he loves Zebulon Middle School is because of the diverse opportunities in education. It has the best teachers in the county. You think so? All right. And the counselors are very supportive. In any way that you need, he feels that he's very safe and cared for at Zebulon Middle School. Daniel always tries to set a good example so others can follow. He translates for Zebulon Middle School students who do not speak English. Need a job at the town. Daniel is an amazing student who likes to continue to learn and become greater in all things that he experiences. The town of Zebulon recognizes Daniel Antonio Vasquez of Zebulon Middle School for being an outstanding student and a role model to other students. Signed November 6, 2023, Mayor Glenn L. York. Next, we recognize the teacher, Miss Ashley Smith. Will you come up, please? Malcolm X stated, "Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it." Ms. Smith comes to Zebulon Middle School ready to shape and transform the lives of students that encounter every single day. Ms. Smith's passion and love for teaching is showcased in her classroom, which is welcoming and inviting to everyone who enters the classroom. She continues to help our students find passion and literature every day in her classroom. When Mrs. Smith is not teaching, she's a coach for the girls' cheerleading team. Additionally, she is a co-chair for our school improvement team. Ms. Smith will always greet you with a warm smile and a welcoming spirit. We are happy to have Ms. Smith touching and impacting the lives of our students at Zebulon Gifted and Talented Magnet Middle School, the Center of Advanced Studies and STEM. The town of Zebulon recognizes Ashley Smith of Zebulon Middle School for her exceptional service and commitment to our students. Signed this day, November 6, 2023, Mayor Glenn L. York. Next, we have a couple of proclamations. I'd like to call Mr. Roderick McClellan. Proclamation for McClellan Bagpipes. Whereas Roderick McClellan, born Scotland and a graduate of Glasgow School of Arts, immigrated to the United States in 1980. And whereas Robert McClellan began making bagpipes in 1991 and founded McClellan Bagpipes in 1995. Whereas Roderick researched has enabled his bagpipes to stay true to the sound created in Scotland by the pipe makers in the late 19th century. McClellan Bagpipes is recognized internationally as one of the top bagpipe manufacturers in the world, and we got it right here in Zebulon. Whereas in 2022, McClellan Bagpipes located within the town of Zebulon, Downtown Overlay District, and Zebulon's National Registry Historic District. And whereas McClellan Bagpipes has played an important role in creating a vibrant downtown by participating in local and community events. In July, McClellan Bagpipes was selected among 130 nominees to participate in the North Carolina Chamber of Commerce 2023, the coolest things made in North Carolina competition. And whereas after 3 months of public voting, more than 45,000 votes were cast for the manufacturing company participating in the contest. And whereas through the participation of Zebulon community and supporters from across the state of North Carolina, McClellan's Bagpipes was selected as the 2023 top 5 coolest things made in North Carolina in the small business category. Now, therefore, I, Glenn L. York, of the town of Zebulon, do hereby proclaim recognition of McClellan Bagpipes by the North Carolina Chamber of Commerce as one of the coolest things made in North Carolina for 2023, and call upon all citizens of the town of Zebulon to join in celebrating this accomplishment. Proclaim the 6th day of November 2023, signed by Mayor Glenn L. York. proclamation supporting Operation Greenlight for veterans. Whereas the residents of the town of Zebulon have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces. Whereas the contributions and sacrifices of those who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedom and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas the town of Zebulon seeks to honor individuals who have made countless sacrifices for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legions, veterans of foreign wars, religious groups, civil service, and help fellow former service members access federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. Whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually. Whereas studies indicate that more than half of the service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life, which includes being at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. Whereas the town of Zebulon appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Zebulon Board of Commissioners that the week of November 6th through the 12th, 2023 is recognized as Operation Greenlight, which is a time to shine a green light for the service of veterans and encourage our citizens to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying a green light in their window of their place of business or residence. It's adopted the 6th day of November 2023, signed Mayor Glenn L. York. Next is public comment. Looks like we had 2 to sign up. Did we have any for emails or letters?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Bruce Davis.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bruce Davis. I live on Gannon Avenue in the Historic District. Question number 1 that I have as a comment was just trying to find out whatever happened with the lot down the street from my home. Wanted to just get more information in regard to the lot down the street from my home, if I can get more information in regards to that. Number 2 is wanting to know in regards to, I understand that we're a very diverse community. How diverse are we in our employment in this building itself? Because as much as us moving into this community, how do we look inside of this building? Do we show those numbers? Do we appear as diverse as the community is? Can we see those numbers is my biggest question. Those are my only comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we will have Desiree Blackney.
Right.
Excuse me, I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you.
And I forgot to ask your name and your address.
Desiree Blakeney, and I stay on in the Autumn Lakes, 325 Turning Lake Drive.
Thank you.
Again, my name is Desiree Blakeney, but I go by Des. Another name that I've earned the privilege of earning since I've been in Zebulon is Miss Des. And the way I earned that name was by working at the Zebulon Boys and Girls Club as a camp counselor for the past 2 consecutive summers. Back in March, I started a company called D.A. Blakeney Operations, LLC. And the sole mission of that company is being able to give back to the community in the city that helped me to realize what my purpose was in life and what I was here for. And I really owe all of that to the Zebulon Boys and Girls Club, because while I was working with those kids, I was able to realize what I needed to do. What I really want to talk about is my company is starting a 10-week mentorship program in January. And I would really like the city's support in getting it started, because to be honest, I'm only 20 and I have no idea what I'm doing. So I need help and I need guidance, and I'm not scared to ask for it. When I was working with those girls and those boys at the Zebulon Boys and Girls Club, I was able to create a relationship with them. I was able to learn them, and they were able to confide in me and talk to me. And one day I had a kid ask me, well, Ms. Des, how am I supposed to vent to my mom when she has to feed me and my brothers every day? She has to pay the bills at home. And I realized that I forgot what it was like to be at that age and have problems of my own going on at school. And I felt alone at times. I didn't want to go bother my mom. My mom has to work for us. My mom has stuff that she has going on. My parents have stuff that they have going on, and kids understand that. And so I want my mentorship program to be a safe space where kids will be able to come and talk about the things that they feel like they can't talk about at home, where they'll be able to express themselves in a healthy and calm way. And so I really would just like your guys' support in making that happen. And that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No one else for public comment? We will move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miles. Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Old business. Manager Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. The regular meeting on September 11th of this year, the board requested the draft on the remote meetings procedure to be further refined. Those revisions have been included in your agenda packet. The discussion before the board is if they are interested in adopting those procedures, as well as the budget amendment for $15,000 to transform this meeting place to allow for virtual meetings. Staff is available for any questions or comments that the board may have.
Questions, comments from the board?
One point that I'd like to have maybe amended before we adopt this, and that is under number 2, under subsection 1. I'm not sure if it's supposed to read, shall be limited to remote participation in board meetings for 3 times each calendar year. The word "for" is what I'm questioning, and I'll take guidance from the attorney. I would think it should be read as 3 times each calendar year. You're going to be limited to something, not you're going to be limited for something.
That may
Do you
be a
see what that
usage choice. I don't think that the intent of Section 1
It doesn't
is
change?
unclear.
Okay,
So it
thank you.
just, yeah, usage is in the eye of the beholder sometimes, so,
All righty. Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
The comments, questions from the board?
One quick question. The $15,000, did we ever get an itemized list? I think we had asked for an itemized list of what it was going to take to upfit that.
We did that.
Yes, that was provided at the last meeting. You
Okay.
guys discussed
All
this.
right, thank you.
And Mayor York, just so you know, we would need a motion to approve the policy as well as a separate motion to approve the ordinance if the board so chooses.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the ordinance? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-12, remote meeting policy.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
That's not the policy.
Oh, that's what's up here. I'm sorry.
You would need to approve the policy first, and then the ordinance would be
Okay.
second, because the ordinance is to allot the money, and if you don't do the policy, then you don't need the money.
Gotcha.
I will withdraw my motion.
You can rephrase.
Okay, let me
redo it.
rephrase it. I want to make a motion to approve the remote meeting policy.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Roll vote. Commissioner Laux,
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison,
Favor?
Commissioner Clark,
Favor?
Commissioner Miles, Commissioner Baxter.
Favor?
Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we need a motion on the ordinance.
Okay. I make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-12.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you. Commissioner Laux. Discussion. Roll vote. Commissioner Baxter,
Favor?
Commissioner Miles,
Favor.
Commissioner Clark,
Favor?
Commissioner Harrison,
Favor?
Commissioner Laux.
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we get into the public hearing for the annexation, I want to go through a couple quick things. As we've talked about before, this is just kind of constantly a learning experience for the community and for them and the process of how we run these things. So talking about the annexation and zoning process is just a quick moment. Before we get into that discussion, I want to make sure everyone understands the process of tonight's annexation.
Can't quite hear you.
I was gonna say, yeah, can you speak it a little louder? We can't hear you.
As far as the process for tonight's annexation public hearing, we'll be going through providing an overview of the request. There it is. Okay. Providing an overview of the request, then the applicant will provide any additional details of the request if they feel need to be added from staff's presentation. The Board of Commissioners will then ask questions for clarification if they have any. The mayor will open the public hearing. The public will make comment, and then the mayor will close the public hearing. Just so that is clear that the public hearing for the annexation will be occurring a little bit later this evening. So in talking about annexation, annexation is the incorporation of new territory into the existing municipality. You can see the map on the screen in front of you. The area in red is area that is currently within our corporate limits. In order for a new piece of property to come into the municipal limits of the town of Zebulon, there are a few things that the board has to agree on. And those annexation standards are as follows. One is that the annexation petition bears the signature of all landowners within the area to be annexed. So the owner approves it. If the annexation can only occur if the owner wants it to occur. The second is that the area to be annexed can be adequately served by the same municipal services provided within the town's primary corporate limits. So we have to make sure that we can serve that area. Debt obligations. The debt obligations from serving the subject land do not exceed the anticipated revenues of the town. And this is a situation where we don't see for undeveloped land. This is primarily in dealing with developed neighborhoods where we might have to take out a loan in order to bring up the water, the roads, something along those lines in order to provide the same services as the rest of the community. But again, that is not really the case for most undeveloped pieces of property. And then finally, that the public health, safety, and welfare of the town residents and the residents of the land proposed for annexation will be served by the annexation. So those are the 4 standards that are followed for annexations. Regarding rezonings, that is a change to the official zoning map from the town of Zebulon. You can see our current zoning map in front of you. A lot of different colors. Every color stands for a district. You all have seen a lot of different types of rezoning through this, through your time here. And the members of the public can maybe pick out where they are and see what their current zoning is. But rezoning is just a change to this map. It's, change from one type of residential to another, or from commercial to industrial, or vice versa. In order to go through a rezoning, there are standards that have to be followed with that. These are the standards for a conditional zoning. There are standards for conditional zonings, for strict zonings, for planned developments, but because you guys primarily deal with conditional zonings, felt like this was the most applicable. The planned development that you might see later tonight has slightly different standards, and we'll go through there. There's only slight modifications to the standards. The first of these standards for zoning is whether the proposed conditional zoning advances the public health, safety, or welfare of the town. The second is that whether the extent of which the proposed rezoning is appropriate for the proposed location and is consistent with the proposed goals, objectives, and policies of the town's adopted policy guidance. Third is whether the approval of the conditional rezoning is reasonable and in the public interest. Fourth is whether the extent to which the plan associated with the conditional rezoning, again, this is dealing with conditional rezonings at this time, is consistent with the ordinance. And then any other factors deemed relevant by the commissioners. This is an opportunity because conditional zonings are a legislative case where if you guys have specific things that you've heard from the public or your own concerns about a rezoning, that is where those concerns would lie as far as meeting the standards. In talking through sites that are not within our corporate limits, you guys have seen this chart before, and it seems a little complicated sometimes for people who haven't seen it, but it's pretty much just walking through. As if a site is outside of our current ETJ and does not have our zoning, an annexation petition is either approved or denied. Obviously, if it's denied, we don't move any further. It's not in our jurisdiction. We can't do anything with it. If it's approved, then a rezoning petition is heard. You can approve rezoning petitions, and that moves them forward where they can begin construction plan review and develop the property. If denied, obviously, you have to go back through and rescind the annexation because that property would be in the corporate limits and left into an odd holding pattern that would, at the period of 60 days, lead a piece of property to have no zoning. So if you don't rescind annexation, if you deny rezoning and don't rescind annexation, the property could be developed with no regulations 60 days after that vote. Or you could continue the discussion to a future meeting if needed to have some clarification on anything. And again, that same thing, if it's denied, rescinding annexation to prevent that hole in the zoning. So now, if you want to go through, we can begin Chamblee Lake annexation and talk through that. So the property in question for this annexation, and I'll go through ordinance 2023-2019, again for the Chamblee Lake annexation. The property, the applicant is David Bergmark with McAdams. The property owner is Jim Edwards. The address of the property is 1509 Chamblee Road, and it is approximately 136 acres. Public hearing notices were provided. Signs were posted on the property. Mailed notices were provided in accordance with our standards. Newspaper notifications were sent out. We also update the town website to show that the public hearing is coming up. And lastly, we send out an email to the email list. And again, anyone who is here who wants to be on that email list, we can add you to that, and you can get emails for any public hearing that's coming through, whether it's an annexation, rezoning. You'll be aware of it, even if it's not directly behind you. You can see the locations that we posted the public hearing notice signs, 2 on Chamblee Road, 1 at Perry Curtis, and 1 at the Stubb Street off of Perry Ridge Court. Here you can see the property is touching corporate limits. That is the Sidney Creek neighborhood, for those of you who are not aware of that area. And sorry, you can see in the area up here, this is currently extraterritorial jurisdiction. That's area that's within our planning jurisdiction, but not within our corporate limits. So again, the annexation standards that you all heard me say before, but I'm going to go through it again just so we're all clear on everything. The annexation has to have owner approval. We have to be able to provide services to the property. We would not be receiving any debt obligations, and I'll clarify that is if we have to provide services and take a loan out for the property in order to provide those services, that would go against this. Again, that is primarily for existing development, not unused land or undeveloped land. And then is the annexation in the public health, safety, and welfare of the town of Zebulon. For this annexation, staff recommends approval of the proposed annexation and adoption of ordinance 2024-19 if the board finds the standards of section 2.2.2G are met. And I'd be happy to answer some questions about this annexation or turn it over to the applicant if they have anything additional they'd like to say.
Any questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Baxter?
Yes, so there are a significant number of houses that wind up being just 6 feet apart from each other. Mm-hmm. What are the building materials going to be?
So the issue of what would be built on the site would be part of the conditional rezoning and not part of this annexation. So I'd like to not get into the plan development submittal until we get to that time. Okay. This is just dealing with the annexation of the site, and then we can touch on that stuff.
Okay, can you please give us the different choices for annexation?
Yeah, you have the ability to approve the annexation, you have the ability to continue the annexation, or deny the annexation.
And there can be approval with certain time restrictions. Could you please go over those?
I'm going to turn that over to Eric Vernon, our town attorney, to kind of discuss some of that, because I believe some of it is dependent on its fiscal year that you want to touch on that?
The state statutes allow for a deferral of annexation. In other words, you can vote to approve it to a deferred date. June 30th of the current fiscal year is one date, that's 2024, or you can go to the next fiscal year, June 30, 2025.
Thank you.
Rich Laux.
I have kind of the same question. excuse me, I'm going to ask you as well as the developer.
Okay.
But looking at the traffic impact analysis study, it looked like one of the problem areas may be old US 264 and 39. And if I'm reading this correct, Sydney Creek is responsible for that traffic light at 39 and 64. It looks like when they build out in 2027, is that correct?
So again, similar to Commissioner Baxter, that is part of the plan development actual agenda item, not the annexation. I'd be happy to answer that question and have the applicant answer that question when we get to that point.
Understand.
I want to pass this
Thank
bridge
you.
before we get there.
Any other questions for annexation? Commissioner Harrison?
No, sir.
Commissioner Clark?
None at this time.
Commissioner Miles?
None at this time.
Is there a motion for annexation?
I
We
move.
have
We
public
have to have
hearing
a
at
public
this-
hearing first.
Yeah.
Oh,
Declare the
I'm
public
sorry.
hearing open.
If you'd like to open
Is-
the public hearing.
Is the applicant going to do presentation?
A full presentation or anything, I'm just going to say just a few things about the annexation specifically. I know many of the questions that were asked have to do with the plan development for this 1509 Chamblee Road. Good evening, Mayor York, commissioners. I'm Ashley Honeycutt Terrazas with Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street, representing the applicant property owner here, Mr. Edwards, who you heard from at the joint public hearing last month. Adam covered many of the key points about the annexation. And I just, we covered at length at our joint public hearing last month, the plan development for this parcel. But I just want to speak a little bit about the plan annexation. 1509 Chamblee Road, adjacent to Zebulon's corporate limits, Sydney Creek to the east, ETJ to the west, currently in Wake County. We would love for this development of this parcel to come into the town. Annexation ensures the town will receive the benefits of the development of the property. When it's annexed, the town will start receiving property taxes in the next tax year, while not needing really to provide services until residents are actually living in the community, which is probably around 2 years out at least. And if all of the and that's if all the subsequent approvals go smoothly. Also ensures that town's going to get the impact fees from the development of the property, which the town now charges for new development projects when they're approved, and the funds go straight into designated pot of money for certain improvements or projects for the town. So, short, owner of this parcel, who you heard from at the joint public hearing, wants it to be part of the town, developed in the town, consistent with the town regulations and policies, and for those economic benefits of the development to go to the town and not the county. So. We respectfully ask that you approve the annexation, and we look forward to discussing further the plan development and the benefits that we hope to bring to the town on this parcel. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the development? Okay, I'm going to read these annexation public hearings. The public hearing is the opportunity for the public to express thoughts, ideas, concerns, and opinions regarding the proposed request to the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners, staff, and applicant will not engage in dialogue at this time. If the public has questions pertaining to the annexation request, please contact town staff or the applicant following the annexation public hearing.
Declare it open, please.
Declare the public hearing open. Anyone who wishes to speak, come to the podium to my left and state their name and address. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of annexation? Hearing none. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to annexation?
My name is James Fountain, and I'm at 10405 Perry Ridge Court in Zebulon. Like I said I'm not against growth. It just needs to be done smartly. And the positioning of this subdivision, I think it's roughly, about 350 houses in 130, 40 acres. Directly across the street from already developed, not even fully developed yet, there's going to be about 700 to 800 houses on a 2-lane country road. That's going to be a lot of traffic on country roads. The other issues too with the infrastructure, when we come to police work, they're on the north side of town, and in the next few years, the fire department's going to be moving on to the north side of Zebulon as well. So what's that going to do for response time for Sidney Creek and proposed Chamberlain Lake? One of their selling points was giving, trying to within walkable distance of 5-County Stadium. Not sure if any of y'all have ever tried to walk 39. You're taking life in your own hands on that one, even with darkness. With darkness, there's no lighting on 39, so it's not even walkable, even if it wasn't within walking distance. And with that railroad track there, if y'all go over that railroad track too quick, you're going to go airborne. Everybody knows that around here. So 5 or 10 years from now, I think it might be a good idea, but right now, I just do not think the infrastructure is there for what we need to do, creating more problems than we already have right now. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishes to speak in opposition of the annexation? Hearing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak neither for nor against, or just to make a comment? Hearing none. If there's no one else who wishes to speak, I will close. Has anyone submitted an email or letter?
No, sir.
Thank you. If there's no one else who wishes to speak, I will close the public hearing on the annexation. Is there a motion?
I hereby move to approve ordinance 2024-19 for the annexation of Wake County Pen 27151015559 into the Zebulon corporate boundaries, finding that the standards of section 2.2.g are met.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we were going to move forward with the annexation to defer it to June 30th of 2025.
We have a motion and a second for the approval.
Could we discuss why June 30 of 2025?
That was the latest date that the attorney gave us, and that will give us some time to think about infrastructure improvements in that time.
Any further discussion on the motion and the second?
Will it also give Sidney Creek time to kind of build out a little bit and see kind of what we're dealing with as far as infrastructure out there as well?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Will that also give time for Sidney Creek to build out a little bit more if we go to 2025 and kind of figure out what we're doing infrastructure-wise out there as far as traffic?
Wouldn't think the building would actually start until maybe the summer of 2024, because there's a lot of work to be done on 136 acres as far as clearing, stormwater. Raleigh's going to put the water and sewer in. There's a great deal of work to be done. So I don't know if building would even happen in 2024.
Is that something we can pose to the applicant and kind of get some input on?
This is.
I guess technically if you annexed it And if we approve the PD, they could start building. They just couldn't get a certificate of occupancy until the date it's annexed, and maybe Raleigh wouldn't even start on the piping, which would delay them another year. Because there's a great deal of work to be done when you develop a piece of property that large.
Mr. Mayor, if I could chime in really quick. With delaying the annexation, we have the ability to rezone the property, subject to that delayed annexation. But because of that, just to note, we would not be able to approve construction drawings until annexation has occurred. And so they would not be able to do any of the groundwork.
Okay, so everything will be on hold until June 30th of 2025.
We'd be able to review plans, but not approve construction and authorize that.
Thanks for the clarification.
Any other questions, comments? Are we ready for a roll vote for annexation approval? Commissioner Baxter?
Not in favor.
Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Commissioner Clark?
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison?
Favor.
Commissioner Laux?
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you. Shemley Lake?
All right. Diving into the plan development. So separate thing, this is the ordinance 2024-21 for the plan development rezoning, PD 2023-01 for the Chamberlain Lake subdivision. As we've talked about before, there are slight different standards that are followed for plan developments. I'll go through those really quickly. The first one being that the proposed zoning map amendment advances the public health, safety, and welfare of the community. It is appropriate for the location, meaning that whether and the extent to which the proposed zoning is appropriate for its proposed location and is consistent with the proposed goals, objectives, and policies of the town's adopted policy guidance. And third, whether an approval of the rezoning is reasonable and in the public interest. And fourth, any other factors the Board of Commissioners deems relevant. Dealing with conditional zonings, you also see part of our UDO refers to plan developments also being better than a strict interpretation of the standards. Plan developments are designed to be slightly different than your traditional zoning, being able to, whether that's better design that doesn't perfectly fit within our ordinance, that's kind of the intent of a plan development. It's doing a little bit more while being a little bit more flexible in the design guidelines. So dealing with the request itself for plan development 2023-01, you can see this is a concept master plan. It is a plan development from Wake County R40, again to PD plan development for a residential neighborhood. The property itself, as I talked about before, is the applicant is David Bergmark with McAdams. The property owner is Jim Edwards. The property address is 1509 Chamblee Road, and it is approximately 136 acres. And again, the current zoning is Wake County R30. And they are proposing to rezone to the Planned Development District, or PD. It's a quick aerial map of the site to kind of point out, make sure everyone gets a good understanding for those in the public. You can see Mudcat Stadium right here, where the cursor is in the upper right-hand corner. US Foods is in that same area. Sydney Creek is this neighborhood that you see here, partially developed at this time. And then this is the site here outlined in red. Again, the current zoning of the property is Wake County R30, which calls for 30,000 square foot lots. To the east is Zebulon, and there's R4, which is 4 units per acre. That's this area. East, which is R4 Sydney Creek. It's this area that you're seeing here, 4 units per acre. And to the west is the Zebulon ETJ, which is an R2 zoning district at this time, which allows for 2 units per acre. On the future land use map, this property is listed as suburban residential. You can see there is general residential around, but then the surrounding area is suburban residential. To walk through the timeline of activity, we'd like to add this to the slides now so you kind of see how it's been going through the process. On 10/17 of last year, they held their neighborhood meeting prior to submitting for review of this plan development. So this began quite a while ago. Their first official submittal was on the first, actually almost a year ago to the day. When it was submitted, comments were provided in December. And then in January, they held their first TRC meeting with staff and our other committee groups, different departments, as well as City of Raleigh Public Utilities, Stormwater, everything like that. And then they submitted in July, the end of July, for their second review. And then comments were provided at the end of August. Finally, the joint public hearing package was submitted on September 12th. And then the joint public hearing occurred on 10/9/23, so just last month. The concept plan that you see before you is a rough drawing of the site, showing the townhome portions that you can see in this area on the western portion or western side of the property, and the single-family detached homes on the remainder of the property. You can see here some of the proposed elevations that they have submitted. Part of the plan development, and we can touch on in a minute, they are going to be following the standards of our architectural guidelines. So you can see some of the elevations for their detached homes there, as well as some of the elevations for their townhomes. So want to walk through slowly the road improvements that are going to be required as part of their TIA and their plan development. The first being on Chamblee Road, which is we're calling Site Drive 1. You can see it here in front of you. This is a right in, right out from the western portion of the property where traffic will be able to go out and go north or coming in and turning in to the right. So it would not be able to cross Chamblee Road. Just to make that clear, that's a divided median preventing traffic from either turning left into the site or turning left out of the site. See those arrows there to give a little bit more guidance. The second road improvement to talk about is at Site Drive 2, also on Chamblee Road. You'll see it's just down from the one we were previously talking about. This is a full movement intersection, which means that it has a left turn into the site to the east or to the west, a left turn into the east, and full movement. There's no barricades or preventing anything like that. So the next one is the Chamblee Road Site Drive number 3, which again is a full movement, but the difference here is there is not a drive on the eastern side of the road. So this would allow people driving north on Chamblee Road to turn left into the site, and people leaving the subdivision to turn left out of the site, as well as the right-hand turning movements. The next is the proposed improvement on Perry Curtis, which is Site Drive 4. Again, this is also a full movement, but it does not have a road currently shown across because it is the edge of their development area. So they would have a full movement, being able to take a right in, a right out, a left out of the subdivision, as well as with the lane you see here, a left in to the development. The next, you'll notice the star is a little bit further away from their site. These are road improvements that are required by the TIA. This is at Perry Curtis Road and NC 96, or Rendell Avenue. What this requirement would be for a left turn lane, a dedicated left turn lane on 96 onto Perry Curtis. So coming down 96, turning onto Perry Curtis to keep the traffic flowing south on 96 while allowing for the deceleration of vehicles taking the left and not impeding the flow of traffic. Additionally, there would be restriping requirements to improve the alignment of Perry Curtis. You notice the kind of The straight line off Perry Curtis, the center line there, they'd be realigning that to provide a better sight distance, a better sight triangle, and hopefully decrease any incidences of wrecks or anything like that. Just gives people a better view by making them more perpendicular to 96 before they make a movement. You'll see the next star, again, down here at the very bottom right. This is at Wake County Line Road and NC 39. Similar to the Perry Curtis improvements, this would be a dedicated right turn lane on NC 39 to allow for traffic to be coming south on 39 to decel, slow down, take the right turn without impeding the flow of traffic going south, as well as restriping Wake County Line Road to improve the alignment, similar to how I talked about with the other, making the stop bar more perpendicular, make it easier to see for people who are leaving Wake County Line Road. The next is Perry Curtis, Wake County Line Road, and Chamblee Road. This is being teed to monitor as development occurs with their traffic engineer, the need to upgrade that site if needed, and potentially upgrading it to a all-way stop for the three roads conjoining right there, rather than the straight that is Perry Curtis and the stop that is Chamblee. And as Commissioner Laux asked about, the last one is NC 39 and Old US 264. These improvements are to be installed by Sydney Creek when they get to their later phases of development. That was part of their special use permit, and they would be held up from getting certificates of occupancy and actually constructing some areas until those improvements are approved. They are following along with their special use permit. We've spoken with them recently, trying to check in, see if they were going to do that early. They're not. So we're relying on them just moving forward, and we'll be monitoring and making sure that that occurs. So, and those improvements include stoplights and turn lanes to, improve this intersection quite a bit from the existing traffic flow. Wanted to touch on the utility allocation policy that I've gone through a lot with you guys. This subdivision started with a base point classification of 10 points. So you can see here, part of their points that they're achieving, and I'll just talk through a few. They are conserving the natural habitat, meeting the active open space requirement as defined by the UDO. And the two ways they're doing that is the pond that's on the site. They will actually be activating by putting a fishing dock to allow people to fish in that pond, as well as putting a trail around the pond and activating that area with exercise equipment throughout. So kind of providing an active area for people to enjoy and view and make use of the water that's there. With their stormwater control measures, their SCMs, they'll be including and constructing fountains as part of that. You can see the photo here. That's typically what you see for those stormwater control measure fountains. They'll be also including a pollinator garden at a location shown on the site plan, and additional shade trees, and then they will have a resort-style pool, which they have provided an example of here. This pool will have an area for bathrooms and changing rooms only. That is what the point classification that they're getting. As well, they are including a pocket park area with IPEMA certified playground equipment.
Is that going to be different than the 5,000 square foot pocket park that they got 3 points for?
So the pocket park gets 3 points, and then including that equipment gets the additional 4 points.
So it's the same park?
Yeah, it would be the same park. So from the last time you heard this, they had a few changes to the plan development based on things they've heard from you all and members of the community who spoke at the public hearing. They added to their plan development document the addition of covered seating at their mobile food vendor area. They've added additional pedestrian crossing on Chamblee Road in one of those full access intersections so that residents will be able to safely move across Chamblee Road in a designated crosswalk. And then they will be appointing residents to their HOA advisory board. At 25% occupancy, they will add one resident to the HOA board. 50% occupied, they would add a second. So this is saying the total number of people on the advisory board. They're adding at the end, at 75% occupied, they'll have 3 residents on the advisory board.
How many people are going to be on the advisory board in total?
I would ask Ashley to bring that up when we get to her presentation. I'm not sure off the top of my head. So, as we talked about before, the standards for a zoning map amendment, we have to make sure that the amendment advances the public health, safety, and welfare of the town of Zebulon. It's appropriate for the location. It's reasonable and in the public interest. And then any other factors you all deem relevant. And then, of course, because it is a planned development, it is better than the strict interpretation of the UDO standards. So the planning board recommended approval, voting unanimously for that. And then staff recommendation, we recommend approval of the ordinance 2024-21 because it meets the housing and neighborhood section of the comprehensive land use plan, as well as the standards of section 2.224J of the UDO. Does anyone have any questions for me? I'd be happy to answer.
Will the staff have a presentation?
I have questions.
The applicant will have a presentation after, if you don't have any more questions for me.
Okay. Questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Baxter?
So the state legislature changed the requirements or what towns could ask for as far as building materials, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so can you explain that a little bit, please?
So previously, he's going to chime in for me.
The answer to that is yes and no. The state legislature, as part of Senate Bill 25 several years ago, changed when municipalities can ask for particular conditions for 1- and 2-family residential structures. Specifically, municipalities could no longer request those at the time of site plan. However, North Carolina General Statute 160D allows for municipalities to encourage, with the developer's agreement, for conditions that would be specific to particular architectural styles as well as materials. Being that this is a planned development, the applicant has provided a list of conditions, including materials, and staff agrees upon those which can be implemented and enforced as part of a planned development.
And so on the houses that are going to be 6 feet apart, are those going to be, is one of the conditions that they're going to be made out of hardy board or brick or other flame-resistant material?
All of these residential dwellings in this neighborhood are going to be hardy plank siding or other comparable materials.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Commissioner Miles?
None this time, sir.
Commissioner Clark?
None at this time.
Commissioner Harrison? Commissioner Laux?
I have one question regarding the word monitor. There are several intersections that we're going to monitor.
Yes.
Who monitors, how frequently, and then who would pay for the additional stop signs, striping, et cetera?
So a combination of us, we would be recognizing, looking, from public input, monitoring those areas. If we hear a lot, we would be having them go through the process of seeing what needs to be upgraded. And part of the plan development, as it was monitor and upgrade, they would be responsible to upgrade those sites. But it would be a joint effort for us to kind of work together and monitor as the development goes through.
So time-wise, are we thinking an annual monitor or annual count?
Certainly something that if you all would want to include as a condition to monitor that. I couldn't remember off the top of my head. The question was what the timeline of when we would monitor some of those intersections and to check traffic and do any changes. Would that be something you all would be willing to do and add that condition? monitor at 50%. If that's a condition, that sounds like they'd be willing to add, whoever makes the motion would be able to add that as a condition of the motion. Okay.
All right. How's the board feel? Condition, maybe annual monitor, annual count?
Sounds good with me.
So just keep that in mind when you're making your motion, but I'll turn it over, if you have no more questions, to Ashley, since she can give the presentation.
Before you get started with your presentation, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Kim had them doing art projects before I got home from work. I show up at work and she says, yeah, I don't know, I think the boy or something, I don't know where they were here, you lie down and you just rest. And she's giving me the wink, I got to play along. So I'm playing along, next thing I know, they had taken green marker and marked in my hair and my eyebrows and all this other stuff.
Thank you.
It was amazing.
You did a great job.
At least it wasn't a Sharpie. She said, oh, I said, you did good.
I got you.
She did good.
She did great. She did great. I thought I was gonna have to give you the Heimlich one time. I had your back though. I was down here searching for mint and water. I said we're not going.
Yeah, and it only took a few
I mean, it's like my throat's
Oh yeah. It gets like that sometimes. And get it out.
going under there.
I would have been like, oh my
That way
God.
I'm still in the room.
And technology is in the
I was
convenience
in
store.
here searching for mint. And I was looking.
$20 bill to see if it's.
I told you I was going to bring.
Has anybody done that for you? You pay with a 20?
He just finished his snack, but would you like some candy?
I thought about bringing my
I
cough
always thought that
syrup,
was
but I figured
unusual.
everybody thought I was an alcoholic over here.
They'll be like, what is it? He's getting good and high on cough syrup. Candy.
He likes candy.
Yeah. Give us all a little pick me up going on in here. Oh, for sure.
And that gave me a sugar. Oh, I see something else I like.
When I came in, Tori's aunt brought us a really big lasagna, so I don't have to cook tomorrow. Yes.
You were excited to be
I'm not even sure. We will never eat that much lasagna, and my kids don't eat it, so it's just me and Tori, and it's like ginormous. Yeah. I don't know if I like it. Yeah, it's not the same.
It's okay.
Yeah, for sure. It would be good though.
Reconvened. Yes.
Get started?
Proceed.
Yeah, okay. Good evening again, Mayor York, Mayor Pro Tem Miles, Commissioners, and my name is Ashley Honey-Catrazos, Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street in Raleigh. I'm joined by Cameron Jones, Ann Oakley with D.R. Horton, David Bergmark, Certified Land Planner with McAdams, Ryan Akers, Civil Engineer with McAdams, and Nate Boquin, our Transportation Engineer with McAdams, who did the TIA that you've all reviewed. So we got the full team here tonight, and we had a third discussion of this proposed plan development with the board and the town planning board at our joint public hearing and planning board review last month, and we're happy to discuss anything we went over last month if needed. But tonight I'd like to give a quick overview of the community our team has worked hard to plan over the past year, and then briefly explain the updates that we've made since last month. So just hitting the highlights here, Chamblee Lake would be a mixed housing type and price point community, around 232 single-family detached and 123 single-family attached. High-quality homes, 37 architectural conditions to really ensure these are the quality the town is looking for in new development. All of this on about 136 acres on Chamblee Road, adjacent to the City Creek development that's currently being built out. Very close to the Five-County Stadium, and our goal is that the residents in this community would support the stadium and the denser commercial growth that the town has envisioned around the stadium at that exit on 264 for many years. We have 5 different lot sizes for the single-family detached, ranging from 35-foot rear-loaded homes to those larger 70-foot lots that back up to the Chamblee Mill Pond. 90% of our townhomes would be rear-loaded, which is consistent with your new UDO requirements and town policies for townhomes. But we did keep 12 townhomes, again, 10% of our townhomes, front-loaded, primarily to design our development around the oldest champion trees on the property that surrounded the old farmhouse. It was on the eastern side of Chamblee, but this is a deviation from the UDO. We recognize that. And offset that deviation from the UDO, we've made all of these 12 homes, 10% of the townhomes, deed-restricted affordable for families earning 80% of the area median income, making sure that as interest rates are going up, home prices are rising in Zebulon, and purchasing a home becomes harder and harder for families at that income level, we'll have that price point available in this community. We've also designed the community to have plenty of guest parking. As we know, that's been an issue in other neighborhoods in Zebulon, over twice the requirement we have in our plan. And our plan seeks to respect the environmental features on the property. It has 3 times the required open space for subdivisions in Zebulon, plants native and adaptive species in the landscape buffers, a pollinator garden amenity, pollinator plants in our stormwater control ponds, also seeks to preserve and activate some of the most significant environmental features on the site. That Chamblee Mill Pond right there in the middle, a 5-acre lake, will have walking trails and a fishing dock, which we understand from the surrounding neighbors, that's what the lake has historically been used for. And then the champion trees that I just mentioned, we surveyed those, and those will be planned next to the planned dog park. We also have ample amenities for residents in the community, clubhouse with a pool, this great mobile vendor area that I'm going to talk a little bit more about in a minute, a centralized bus pickup location, again, the fishing dock, the pocket parks with playgrounds, hammock gardens, a dog park, and over 6 miles of sidewalks and trails with the dogway stations and exercise equipment. The development would also provide a new connector road from Chamblee to Perry Curtis, which will benefit the entire area as new road connections create more routes for drivers and to ease the traffic impact to certain intersections, as our TIA addendum that we did studies this connection shows. And I'll also just note here that yes, any development generates traffic. The types of development vary, but residential less than commercial, office, industrial, based on the ITE manual generally. And Nate studied the expected traffic impact of this development and the improvements necessary to mitigate that impact. And NCDOT and your town engineer reviewer have reviewed and approved that almost 200-page study. Zebulon also charges impact fees now, which requires new development to pay additional fees to help mitigate the impacts of growth. And so that's, again, part of the benefit of the growth occurring in the town rather than in the county. And finally, this project would provide over a mile of new 12-inch water lines between the stub, what's going to be a stub at City Creek, and then connect all the way up Perry Curtis to the line on 96, completing a loop of water line, which will increase the resiliency and maintain pressure in the area. And also just wanted to say quickly, I know there were concerns brought up about the development taking away water from surrounding wells. We did discuss that with the planning board. Development in municipalities happens adjacent to homes on well water all the time, and this project will be bringing potable water lines to the area, and that's the plan. It's not coming from the well. So, and those water lines could make it possible for folks to connect to potable water if they ever did have issue with their wells in the future and wanted to connect. So going over the updates Adam mentioned, we did go ahead and submit an updated utility allocation policy worksheet. We thought that just honest mistake, we thought the points awarded for the 10% affordable housing at 80% AMI was by product type for the mixed housing type plan development like Chamblee Lake, but if that's not the intent, wanted to go ahead and update that. We're still exceeding the policy by 8 points. Obviously, we did keep the 12 deed-restricted affordable units in the plan, even if we don't get additional utility allocation points for them. Again, to offset that deviation from the UDO and to make sure that we have that price point available for families at that 80% AMI income level in this community. We also added a condition similar to what you've seen before on another project related to appointing a resident advisor to a board to advise the management company while the community is being built out. Just had a little, yeah, there will be 3 advisors, so it's really a board for, while the community is being built out, to be able to have that dialogue, to represent the residents and have that dialogue with the management company. And then obviously the HOA is completely turned over to the residents when it's completed. We also heard a suggestion from your planning board to add a flashing pedestrian beacon at the high visibility crosswalk there on Chamblee, so that it's as safe for pedestrians as possible. So that there up in the right-hand corner shows kind of where that is on the plan, that high visibility crosswalk there across Chamblee. And then those are pictures of what pedestrian beacons look like. That one up there at the top is an apex. And then finally, while we already had a commitment to larger food truck spaces with electrical outlets available in that main amenity area, Based on the feedback that we heard, we wanted to enhance that area particularly, and we added covered seating adjacent to it, so that it can be a true gathering area for the residents, for the community to come out and support a variety of mobile vendors at a safe location. We're calling it the Mobile Vendor Pavilion area, and so these pictures right here are some covered seating areas that D.R. Horton has done in other communities, just to show some precedent images of what that covered seating area might look like. This will be the first mobile vendor pavilion that they've done, but speaking for Cameron and Ann here, they're excited about this amenity and think it'll be a great draw to bring people to the neighborhood, all while supporting local businesses. Again, I'll just again close with these lists of some of the consistent policies from your comprehensive plan. Adam touched on this a little bit. And our team has worked hard to thoughtfully plan a development that's consistent with your policies and goals in the comprehensive plan, utility allocation policy, and Article 2 of your UDO. We're happy to answer any additional questions. I also have all the slides here from the joint public hearing if we need to go back to anything. And then I have the agenda packet printed out if you want to refer to any pages in the agenda with us tonight. And so with that, our team's very grateful to your town staff, board members, planning board members, and the community members that have come out and engaged with us, and our team at the 2 community meetings and individual on-site meetings that we've had for working with us to make Chamblee Lake a great plan for a great community of residents to support the town in the 5-county stadium. And thank you, and we respectfully ask that you approve our proposed plan development and zoning.
Any questions for the developers? Applicant. Commissioner Baxter.
As we've discussed before, using an area AMI for affordable housing is not necessarily, actually it isn't definitely affordable housing for the town of Zebulon, which means that folks that live here can't afford to move here. I would like to see either 3 more additional affordable housing units in this project, or I would like to have 3 of those current units, 3 of the 12, be sold at Zebulon AMI or the area AMI, whichever is lower at time of sale.
I think the
80% affordable housing.
So yeah, and we can go to that slide real quick. I mean, we did cover this last time. So the area median income is based on the HUD numbers. It's updated every year. I think the numbers that you're referring to, Commissioner Baxter, are the census, which is not, right, census data not updated as often. And so typically, there it is.
Do you think that we can afford the HUD AMI right now? Using the HUD, do you think that the residents of Zebulon with the current AMI think that we can afford a house in that development? No, we can't. So go ahead and explain your slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just going to go back to the HUD area median income is based on Johnston, Franklin, and Wake County average income based on housing size. Again, in other jurisdictions where they have affordable housing conditions, this is the metric that's typically used.
Any other questions? Commissioner Laux?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Harrison?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. Looking at the affordable housing and the deed restricted units that you all have, I thank you all for doing that and for being one of the first developers to come to Zebulon to attempt to give us affordable and attainable housing for people that want to move to Zebulon and ones that like to own a home who currently live in Zebulon. A suggestion that I would, maybe not a suggestion, but something I want to make sure that you all are aware of. When I look at the townhomes and the deed restricted units that you all have placed on the map, I would like to see more of the affordable attainable houses within the community instead of kind of segregated to one area. I think that it would provide more of an inclusive neighborhood to have these homes within the neighborhood versus in one particular spot. And so that's just a comment that I want to make, and something that I would like to see, the board kind of look at and moving forward for developers coming before us, just to ensure that if we are in fact being inclusive, and if we are inclusive, that we are making sure that the neighborhood is not segregated for those homes. Okay? Thank you.
Commissioner Clark?
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Miles?
No, none at this time.
Commissioner Laux?
Would you be agreeable to, rather than a time requirement on the monitoring, to do it at like the same as you did your HOA, 25%, 50%, 75, and then 100?
Yes, yeah.
Is that agreeable?
Building permits will update the counts and monitor that intersection.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Miles?
As far as the adding to the HOA, the increments that you guys agreed upon, how will you determine who that individual, he or she will be? What is the plan for that?
Yeah, the HOA would.
You need to come to
You have to come to the podium, please.
Cameron Jones, D.R. Horton, 7208 Falls and Noose Road. Frankly, this is the first time we've done it. I think it would probably fall along the same process as any other homeowner who wants to be appointed the board at the HOA by volunteer and votes. But quite frankly, the process hasn't been ironed out. Open to suggestions.
25%, would you oppose having two instead of one individual? Would that?
And listen, we're in the business of repeat business as a homeowner, as a home building company. We treat our homeowners like repeat clients, because oftentimes they are. They buy a house from us not only one time, but multiple times throughout their life. We have management companies that we use for every community that we develop that know, our rules in terms of our covenants and other documents that guide the community's design, et cetera. We're advocates for our homeowners. If they're not happy, they're not buying another house from us. And so we have routine meetings that we have with our residents on an annual basis, biannual basis, where we meet and have that conduit of communication we're looking for. If you think one more person on the HOA advisory board is enough to continue to get that message across, I don't think we're against it.
Okay. I think that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Anything else from the applicant?
Thank you, Commissioner Harrison. We're very proud to be one of the first to commit to this attainability condition. We're excited to bring new housing types to the town of Zebulon, and look forward to continue building partnership with y'all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments from staff? Applicant?
Yes, sir.
Staff? The board?
So the amendment with the two was noted?
Yeah, that's right. So we'd be monitoring that intersection that was recommended for monitoring by our TIA at 25, 50, and 75% build out, and then we would add an additional advisor to that advisory board at 25% build out.
That is correct.
Okay, yeah.
Correct.
Just make sure, if that is the motion, that it's included as a condition of the motion. That's all I ask.
Do we have a sample motion?
Mm-hmm. We have it.
There it is.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we approve ordinance 2024-21 for Chambly Lake PD 2023-01 as amended which would include doing the traffic monitoring at both 25% build out, 50%, 75%, and 100%, and add 2 HOA board members at 25%, 2 more at 50%, 2 more at 75%, and when they're at 100, they'll elect a board.
Perfect.
That the request is consistent with comprehensive land use plan and the standards in section 2.2.24.J of the UDO.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion? Roll vote. Commissioner Baxter?
Approve.
Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Harrison?
Favor.
Commissioner Lyles?
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next, text amendment, Town Codes 98.02.
Hope y'all are doing well tonight. A couple of weeks ago, hold on. Weeks ago, one of the new businesses in town came to the police department and had some questions about hiring officers off duty for parties and events where alcohol was sold. And through the course of our discussion with the business owner, we realized that our practice for having law enforcement officers at alcohol parties was not consistent with the town ordinance. And we realized that the ordinance was outdated as it relates to officer safety concerns when working alcohol established or alcohol being served at these different events. For about the past 5 years or so, when someone comes to the police department to have off-duty officers work their party, we would have 1 officer for the first 100, 2 officers for the second 100, et cetera, and that is inconsistent with our ordinance. So we revised the ordinance to properly reflect not just what we've been doing for the past 5 years, but bringing it into compliance with what's considered best practice as it relates to officer safety. We also made a couple of amendments to the narrative section of the ordinance, and so you'll notice that we removed motels, but we added the traditional alcohol establishments that we're seeing in downtown Zebulon now, the breweries and wineries and such. Not a couple of minutes ago, over an hour ago now, a while back, I got a text message from Commissioner Miles asking some questions about the ordinance. He asked specifically if this is going to cause the need to make an amendment to the special events policy. He asked if this is going to impact events like chamber after hours or business openings, and why we excluded motels. So I'll go ahead and answer those questions real quick, along with any others that y'all might have. We excluded motels because motels are you enter the rooms from the exterior of the business. In a hotel, you have to go through a common area or a lobby. Most hotels have a bar where they have ABC permitting, and so they're very familiar with the rules that are associated with serving alcohol. Motels don't have that common area of entry, and so they wouldn't know who is coming into their property. So we didn't think it was appropriate for motels to be hosting alcohol parties and to have an exclusion, because it is highly unlikely that they have an existing ABC permit where they're very used to having to deal with the ABC laws. The impact on special events is something that I so appreciate him bringing to our attention, because if you look at the policy very specifically, an event with 800 people would require 8 officers, and an event with 4,000 people would require 40 officers, and we don't have that kind of staffing. And the intent of the ordinance isn't to exclude those kinds of events from occurring. I would like to add an exception that reads something along the lines of the number of officers may be adjusted for large-scale events, those with more than 500 attendees, in which the Special Events Committee has reviewed the event and the plan and has provided recommendations both by police and fire. So in addition to the added alcohol establishments that are exempt from having to get off-duty officers, I would also add the exception for the number of officers at large-scale events. And then the last question he posed had to do with the chamber or businesses doing openings. As you read the ordinance, those events would require an officer if they're serving alcohol there. So I'm open to your thoughts or comments about the policy, and we do have a sample motion before you if you'd like to address that as well. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Baxter?
So not that we have an overabundance of motels currently, but according to how this ordinance is written, 0 to 99 attendees. So if you had 2 people that wanted to have a couple of beers inside their hotel room, unless there was a better definition of what constitutes a party, I feel like that would be a little bit problematic, and that would be very open to interpretation that maybe we don't want. So could you help me understand that a little bit?
Yeah, I can appreciate where you're coming from. The intent of the ordinance isn't at all to be that broad, where we're expecting police at any kind of event where a few people get together to have a drink. The way that the ordinance was originally written, it included functions, events, and dances. And I can see where a definition would be more appropriate within the ordinance to really spell out what those things would be. And that's, I think, going to have to be, I mean, we can't include every type of event or function, but we can give some good examples of when that would be appropriate.
Would you be opposed to polishing this up a little bit and then bringing it back before us at the December meeting? Or even later this month if you feel like it necessitates a vote more urgently?
Mm-hmm. Not at all.
Commissioner Laux?
Yeah, under item A, you do have except at legally operated private clubs or private residence. So you have kind of addressed those, quote, small parties.
At a home, yes. I don't think it would include the situation that Commissioner Baxter described.
Any further questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Harrison?
No.
Commissioner Clark?
A, number 1 under A, it says the person obtaining a permit has at their own expense. So to me, the number wouldn't matter. It would be the person that the group you're talking about would have to have bought a permit, been approved for a permit, correct?
I'm not really following what you're asking there.
The person obtains a permit, and that is the person who needs the officers, correct?
The individual who's requesting the permit is securing the officers.
So that really wouldn't affect a small group, probably. I mean,
If an individual were hosting a get-together in which alcohol was served at one of the businesses downtown that doesn't already have an ABC permit, by ordinance, they would need to get a permit for the party and secure an officer.
okay. That answered my question. Thank you.
Commissioner Miles?
None this time. Might have been answered. Thanks, Chair.
Commissioner Baxter?
No, I just want to make sure that you guys are okay if I make a motion to defer the vote until this has been polished up a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion?
I hereby move to defer voting on ordinance 2024-20 to, Chief, is the December meeting?
It'll be fine, yes.
That would work, okay. To,
What date is that?
yeah, I'm looking. December 4th. To December 4th, 2023. December 4th, 2023.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miles. Any further discussion? We have a roll vote. Commissioner Laux?
In favor.
Commissioner Harrison?
Favor.
Commissioner Clark?
Favor?
Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Baxter?
In favor.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Were we going to include the managers?
Yes, sir.
Can we do it in?
Yes, right here.
Okay. I need a motion concerning the town manager's salary increase. 2%.
Oh.
Go for it. We just want to make a motion.
Make a motion. We need a motion and a second. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the town manager's 2% pay increase?
Effective August 30.
Effective August 3rd, 2023.
Yeah. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll vote. Commissioner Baxter?
Not in favor.
Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Commissioner Clark?
I am not in favor because I do not think it's enough. I'm not saying, I wanted to get an increase, but I would like more than that. So I am not in favor.
Commissioner Harrison?
Favor.
Commissioner Laux?
Favor.
Motion passes 3-2. Board comments. So we're going to, before the manager's comments, board comments. Commissioner Baxter.
All right. I'd like to remind everyone that Tomorrow is not only Election Day, but Wake County Public School Systems, they do not have school. On the 8th, we have the Veterans Day celebration here in town. If you are a veteran, it would be awesome to see you at that event. On the 10th, again, Wake County Public School Systems does not have school, so make sure that you've got coverage for your children these 2 days this week. On the 11th, not only is it Veterans Day, but we have the Mighty Con happening at the community center. In addition, we will also have a flag retirement ceremony. On the 18th, we have Candy Cane Lane. On the 20th, one of my favorite things to do here in Zebulon, and that's bingo, Thanksgiving bingo at the community center. In addition, I would like to recognize some career milestones. First, in the fire department, congratulations to Lee Chambly, who was promoted to lieutenant, to Larry Woodard and Taylor Andrews, who were both promoted to senior captain. And in the police department, the promotion for Sarah Carroll to sergeant. These are significant occurrences here at the town of Zebulon because it helps us activate our career ladder and ensure that we are maintaining and keeping the most highly qualified individuals. Thank you.
Commissioner Miles. To paraphrase the former governor of New Mexico, Gary Johnson, regardless of who wins, elections are a time for optimism and fresh approaches. Yes, tomorrow is Election Day. We have been introduced with 6 incredible Board of Commissioner candidates, each with their own unique set of strengths, ideas, talents, and approaches. Deciding which 3 candidates to vote for won't be an easy. With these 6, but I implore you all to exercise your right to vote tomorrow. The polls are open from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And to the candidates, I applaud you all and wish you all the best. This Saturday is a day that holds a special place for me as a Marine Corps combat vet. It's Veterans Day. And the town is hosting a Veterans Day event this Wednesday, November 8th at 10 a.m. at Town Hall. Please stop by if you're available. If we have any vets in the audience or watching, thank you. And to those who wonder how you can best honor or thank us vets, it's so simple. Always strive to be kind, be the kind of human, the kind of neighbor, the kind of American who is worth all of our sacrifices. And lastly, I'd also like to talk about Operation Greenlight. This week, we as veterans ask everyone to light a green light for us and to let us know that we are seen, appreciated, and supported. This seems little gesture means more than anyone can imagine. Semper Fidelis, thank you, veterans, unity through community.
Commissioner Clark.
I just want to make sure that the citizens of Zebulon go out and vote and realize how important it is to vote for your candidates tomorrow.
Commissioner Harrison.
Thank you. First, I want to thank everyone that took the time to sit here with us tonight. We appreciate you. Also, to echo all of the sentiments, tomorrow is Election Day. Please exercise your right to vote. Also, tomorrow at 4 p.m., the Zebulon Rotary Club will be here on Town Hall putting out flags for veterans, and they need assistance. So if you are free tomorrow at 4 p.m. and you would like to come out and help the Rotary Club put flags out, they would welcome the help. Thank you.
Commissioner Hawks.
Just one item. Excuse me. As you've heard, November is a very busy month. There's a very important meeting on November 9th at the Zebulon United Methodist Church at 5:30 as we develop our economic future. If you want a business or you want something to come to town, please come to that meeting and voice your concern. I see it all over Facebook, but I'd like to see some people in person. So Thursday night, November 9th at Methodist Church, 5:30. Thank you.
Can I add the address, 121 West Gannon Avenue?
Thank you. I'd just like everyone to exercise their right to vote. It's very, very important to exercise your rights because Some of us, our rights were denied years ago to take part in this process. So please exercise your right to vote. I don't know, kind of dating my age. There was a gentleman named J.D. Lewis that worked for Channel 5 that used to conduct on TV a program called Teenage Frolics. It was way before Soul Train. On November the 9th, he will be inducted into the North Carolina Military Hall first induction ceremonies at the Auditorium Museum on Eden Street, 5 East Eden Street, Raleigh, North Carolina. He was one of the first Black Marines in his corps also. Thank you. Manager Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I recognize Planning Director Michael Clark for the development update.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. I'm not going to go through the entire development update. I'm going to turn that over here in a moment to Adam Culpepper, our senior planner. But as you know, the town of Zebulon is growing, and as such, our staff has to constantly grow and adapt. As you've probably seen multiple times up here, previously our Planner 1 was promoted to a Planner 2, which left a vacancy for our Planner 1 position. Being a planner is not something a lot of people can do. I was once told you have to have a thick skin and a warm heart to be an effective planner. And through the process of as we interview folks, we go beyond just how they respond to the question, but how they respond to us, how the interaction is, how they demonstrate a distinctive passion for being a planner, for wanting to help people through the creation of wonderful places. We were very fortunate a couple months ago to find such a person. Chris Medina joined us pretty much straight out of school. He's a graduate of East Carolina University, where he received his undergrad in May of 2023. But that's not stopping him. In addition to working full-time with the town of Zebulon, he's also pursuing his master's degree. Right before he joined the town, he did spend some time as an intern with the town of Clayton. So with that, I'd like to introduce Christopher Medina, the town's new Planner 1.
Good evening, Mayor and the Board of Commissioners. As Mike just said, my name is Christopher Medina. I want to thank everyone for just welcoming me with open arms, and I look forward to serving all of you, the town of Zebulon, and I look forward to working with you all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
And with that, I'll recognize Senior Planner Adam Culpepper for the remainder of the development update.
All right, I'm going to jump through here and pull up a few things, because as always, we're going to talk about the interactive development map. Let me get this. I'm clicking the wrong thing. There it is. So, if you go to the Town of Zebulon Planning Department page, you will scroll down and you will see the interactive development map. If I scrolled too far, yep, I did. Interactive development map. When you click that, this is an opportunity for you all and members of the public to take a look at what's going on within the area. There's a small map here that you can navigate, as well as some additional things below that where you get a little bit more detail. If you are, like me, very map-oriented and want to look at what's going on at the map and click through that, if you click this expand button here, you can do a little bit more. I'm clicking too many things. Or you can view the dashboard at full screen. So that's the other option you have there. That pulls up all of this so you can take a look at it. I want to kind of touch on a few things since they were recent board actions. The Zebulon Animal Hospital that you all saw for rezoning has officially submitted for their construction plans, so you'll see that on the plans there. So that is running through review right now. Additionally, it's now being called the 7-Eleven. It was the convenience store on Arundel, just on the north side of the highway. So that is a 7-Eleven that is looking to go there. They have submitted for their construction drawings. I'll note the cookout is still coming through the process. We're waiting to receive their second submittal. It's not a Chick-fil-A, despite the random signs that keep being added there. It is a cookout. And you'll see on this map as well, this property right here is a Domino's Pizza that is looking to go. They have finished their first round of review and are going to be moving forward with TRC and getting resubmitting in the next couple weeks. Additionally, kind of looking in the same area, you'll see this big blob right here. That is the Storage Max, which you all saw, I believe, last year. They are beginning their construction or moving through with their construction plan review and working with staff very well. The other thing that I'll say that is submitted, you'll see this yellow line here. That is stuff that is coming to you all. The yellow outline is pending board action. That is a rezoning for a 24/7 Fitness. The 24/7 Fitness, which is already in town, is looking to branch off on their own, have their own site, and that is just beginning the process. They submitted only a couple days ago. So as they go through review, you can pay attention and see as those plans update, or ask staff if you have any questions as well. And by our current timeline, that would be coming to the joint public hearing in March as they work themselves through that. Looking at other stuff, obviously the Zebulon South development is another large development looking to occur in the south side of town. I just spoke with the attorney for that, who is the attorney for the other rezoning from tonight, and she assured me that they would be resubmitting for their comments. So you'll be seeing that at the December joint public hearing. So that will be moving forward and coming to you all very soon. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions and just again point out, members of the public, this is a place for you all to be able to navigate and see what's going on within Zebulon. And of course, call us, walk in, email us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you all have. Any questions for the board?
Any questions, comments from the board? Thank you. Manager's report.
Recognize Human Resources Director Lisa Markland for the Human Resources update.
So we have a lot of positions we've been advertising for, recently filled, and those to come. Current positions open is the engineer that closes on the 18th. We have a firefighter position open, which closes on the 10th. Police officer, we have 4 vacancies. That is open until filled. We have several part-time positions in Parks and Recreation for recreation aid and recreation aid for athletics. And again, those are open until filled. Closed recently, we have the planning technician position closed on the 28th, and the Parks and Recreation assistant for the community center interviews have been held, and we are in the process with that. New positions are Parks and Recreation, or new positions that have started. Parks and Recreation Program Coordinator for Special Events. In planning, we have a zoning and code enforcement officer and a planner 1, which you just met, was Chris Medina. IT director, we are still working on that with Network South and Developmental Associates, and the clerk position will begin being advertised later this week. The HR staff spent 48 hours of inclusion training last week, and we'll be moving into DEI training. Will begin later this month for staff.
Questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Miles?
Could you elaborate a little bit more on the program coordinator, and then also with the clerk? I was under the impression that the board would have some input on that position, what we're looking for, being they work directly for, he or she work directly for us.
There was a deadline on the input, and I received some input, and that input was included.
And what was the other question? I'm sorry.
Program coordinator, if you could elaborate. I missed that part about the program coordinator.
This position has been hired, and they have already started.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Moore?
The monthly financial report has been included in your packet as an addendum. I'll recognize Finance and Budget Director Bobby Fitz for some budget transfers.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just have a very short list, about 3 transfers to report, and all of them in the Public Works Property and Project Management Division. Moved $10,000 from the sidewalk cleaning project to salaries, and moved $10,000 from the equipment shed project to the fuel station project. And then finally, in the engineering department, moved $10,000 from salaries to professional services. That's all. Thank you.
Since we don't have a engineering department yet, I'm assuming that that $10,000 is going towards HR associates, or where is that going? What are the professional services?
LBJ, is that, development review, LBJ and Associates, I think is the name.
LBJ Development
LBJ.
Review, okay.
Yeah. Just basically a lot of plan review due to the engineer. And we're probably going to do some more next month to cover some more as well for upcoming work they're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the manager's report.
Thanks, everyone, for coming out tonight. We always enjoy seeing your input into what we're trying to do. Like I always tell folks, this is your money. You need to tell us how to spend it. I would be interested in how and where my money's going. And I think as a concerned citizen, you should be also. So thank you for coming. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.